Hello, everybody. Welcome back.
I'm Shaq.
I'm Chris, and this is
Let me tell you.
All right. So this is the part 2 from what we talked about last week. So holiday traditions is what we talked about last week. Thank you for everybody who listened in.
Whoop whoop.
And today we're going to talk about people who are grieving during the holidays and what that looks like.
And how you can get help, and what are some things that can help you get through your grieving.
So I found something online. I was doing some research about this topic, and I found something on Vita's Healthcare that had a list of things that people should do or think about doing when they're getting ready for holidays if they had just recently or not so recently dealt with a loss. So one of the things they talked about is setting realistic expectations for yourself. And that means, this holiday is going to be different for you. And recognize that. You might not be having your 6 holiday parties and doing your caroling and whatever else, making your 8-course meals, because you might not feel like doing any of that stuff. So you might need to rearrange what's on your plate. So,
oh wait, before you go on, you saying that remind me of what Tiffany said in the last episode about culture and how culture applies that pressure. And so even though you're grieving, you still feel like, oh, I have to put up all of these things because it's the holidays and this is going on. And I think one of the first things is to be okay with the fact that I can't do it this holiday. And it's okay to turn off your phone. It's okay to send everybody a text message and an email and say holidays for me are not going to look the same. It's okay. You guys can still celebrate. But as for me, I'm going to be doing blah, blah, these things that that we were about to segue into, and how we can deal with our grief during the holidays.
And another thing I think is realizing that what you're feeling is grief. I know I did some grieving during a couple of holidays, and I didn't even realize that's what I was doing, was grieving. And, I used to have a party and a tree trimming thing and have people come over and we did all this stuff. But that stopped. And I don't think I've done it in a couple of years. But 1 year.
Yes.
I'll get back to it. But I think I just enjoyed more so just going to other people's stuff. And, and then I'll just do my own stuff at home as far as getting the house together. But, some things just have to get off your plate. And that's okay. And at first I felt bad about it. It's like, oh, I didn't do it. People expect me. But then again, people didn't care as much as I thought they would. Let's just be real. There's plenty of things to do during the holidays. Sometimes you might need to tell yourself that, okay, if you stop doing something, the whole world will not stop.
It will not.
People will move on and find something else to do.
And actually, I think you force people to recognize, hey, you're human and you're actually going through something, right?
Right. Yeah. I agree. Did anybody else experience that? I don't know if everybody dealt with any loss or any grief during the holidays, feeling like they might have to change something that they've done before.
Well, I have. As you guys all know, I lost my dad just a year ago. But today I was recognizing that it's been 30 years since I lost my grandmother, his mother, and 27 since I lost my grandfather. And although those are a long time, this is a whole slew of family that I spent every holiday with for a long time, and it changed my life when, and especially just losing my dad. So it was really, really fresh to even go back through the memories and say, these memories won't be here anymore. Mm-hmm. And so the holidays are really, really hard for me because it forces me to look back at the things that I lost, but it also allows me to move forward and say, what is my legacy going to be? What am I going to do for my kids? Or what do I want other people to take away from me, even though I'm still struggling through this? So there are days where I'll cut off the phones. I won't answer for nobody because I just need some time to just process my emotions. And then there are other times where I'm grateful for the friends who know better and go, okay, this has been too long. Let me go check on her. I'm not going to leave her in that for too long. Because I think there's got to be a balance between allowing yourself to grieve and allowing yourself to say, okay, you need to break out of that loss of emotion and allow yourself to enjoy life. Because even though you're grieving a person loss or you're grieving those experiences, you still have to continue to live and move forward. So you can't, I think there's a period in time where you have to allow yourself to find a new normal. Now, how you do that, everybody varies. Some people go on vacation. Some people start a new tradition. I think that it varies for everybody. I just think that it shouldn't be in a negative space of doing things that don't work.
Yeah, I want to expand our definition of grief also, because grief doesn't only come when we have a loss of a family member or a loved one, but there are a lot of parents out there right now who have kids with disabilities who are really struggling. I had a friend text the other day, our group, that she just had an overwhelming sense of grief. And it's this idea like, hey, maybe my child won't be able to be self-sufficient. Maybe my child won't have or meet someone who loves them and ever have a family. There are people who lost their homes, lost their jobs during COVID. So I feel like in this season, this year, we see a lot of grief, and it doesn't only surround, and I think it never did, but we never talk about grief outside of death, right? Loss. Right? Your grieving was not about death. Your grieving was about loss, the possibility of something that didn't come. My grief and my friend's grief is about, hey, my child may not ever really be able to be self-sufficient. I have a friend who lost her job. Their grief is, hey, I don't know how I'm going to eat tomorrow.
Yeah. We also grieve like expectation not being met sometimes as well. You know, a lot of times, you know, especially as you get older, you expect your life to be a certain way, or especially, and if you get into the habit of comparing, that's another thing. And they're just like, well, his friends have this, and then if you don't have it, these holidays or certain things can make it that much more difficult to enjoy. And I like what Chris said earlier. Grief doesn't always look like, or you have to recognize that you're grieving, you know, because even outside of the holiday, I've had a lot of loss as well. You know, my dad died in 2018. My cousin was murdered 2 weeks before that. My brother committed suicide in May. So there's just a whole bunch of things that have happened. And I'm the type of person that just plows through, keeps going. But I'm recognizing that I am grieving because it's coming out in other ways. And I didn't see it until I'm just like, why am I so irritable? Or why don't I feel like taking a shower? Why don't I feel like doing anything? Like, it's not always just I'm crying. I just don't feel like talking. I'm just extra irritable. So, you know, with the help of friends and talking, it's like, yeah, that's a part of grief. And it doesn't even, you know, Christmas wasn't my dad's thing. He was Muslim, but even around this time, just knowing that if I have a family, like you won't. So those are things. So I like that you define grief. I like what Chris said about grief, because it is important to recognize that it doesn't always look the same.
Yeah.
So.
And I want to add to what Tiffany said about being used to be able just to plow through those emotions. I mean, that was me. I'll plow through an emotion in 2.5 seconds. I will not feel. I will shove it down to wherever I can shove it to. Things down there that will shove. But there is a time, everyone, that you will not be able to shove them down.
Yes. Because it will come up again. It will.
That time I'm in therapy to get through.
Yes.
That time that I can no longer shove anything down anymore. I would just get severely emotional out of nowhere. I would say out of nowhere, although my counselor therapist will say otherwise. But that's another issue. I would, whatever. I'm not talking about me.
Yeah. Well, we do. We have a lot of stuffers. We have a lot of people who stuff.
I'm a stuffer. But I'm definitely a stuffer.
I can be a stuffer. I can be a stuffer.
I'm a person, I will lash out. I'm not suffering with that by myself. I don't know.
You're coming down with me.
Yeah. The ship goes down with its captain.
Like, I'm somebody, I will throw something, I will break something, I will be destructive, so to speak. Like, I had a friend once, they didn't recognize their grief. Their grief was being promiscuous, but they didn't recognize it. And it took a minute for me to say to them, wait, you realize why you're doing this, right? And they were like, what are you talking about? Ain't nothing wrong with me. Grief, like you said, grief doesn't look like the sad and depressed. Some people shout. Some people shop their grief away. Some people eat it.
Why are you talking about
I'm a grief shopper. I'm a grief shopper.
I need you to do your grief shopping at the 99-cent store.
But no, honestly, because it comes in different waves and in different forms. Because, like you said, and I know this is, I don't know if this is a family show. I don't know who's listening to this. Whatever. But if you're listening, this will be helpful because, we need these conversations.
Mm-hmm.
When my dad died, I wasn't crying every day.
Yeah.
But I was sleeping around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was DMing people. And
Yeah.
but then, I do know God. And he corrected me. And it was just, and the correction wasn't like, oh, you're bad. It was just like, this ain't doing nothing for you.
Mm-hmm.
This is not doing anything for you. Like, you're doing these things. And I mean, I was kind of out there. And it was like I was numb. There were no tears.
Mm-hmm.
There was nothing.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to, I have a question. Like, what about those people who have, like, families and children or responsibilities? So you have to go. Like, you can't afford to, like, stop. For instance, when he died, it was like back to back issues, and I'm considered like the stronger person in my immediate family, or the strong one, and it's like there was just a weight. And Chris, since then, she checked in on me and she was telling me certain things, and I'm like, I get it, but if I shut down, what do people do around me? Because they're pulled from you, So
Listen, my husband, he goes, so my husband said, Shakara, you haven't changed your panties in 3 days. I was sad.
I was going to say something smart,
but that is like, yeah, I know, that's what he said. I was like, and I said to him, do I stink? And he was like, no, but I've never known for you to wear panties like 3 days in a row. I was like, well, it's okay if I don't stink. And then I put the blanket back on me and I lay back down. And he was like, did you talk to Christina? Call Christina. Why don't you call Christina? Talk to Christina.
Maybe she can help you change your panties.
Yes. She can get you in the shower. But as a parent of 5 and a wife, like, some things that I noticed, like, I had to get out of bed, but I wasn't functional. So I got out of bed.
Because I think that's the problem. We don't define what it means to be the strong person. Because I think
people don't recognize that strong when we say, "Oh, check on our strong friends." I saw something. It was a song. I wish I'll think about it and I'll link it to to this post. But in the song, she was saying, like, your strong friend is still weak, but you don't really know them because you don't really see them all day in their everyday life. Something is failing, but you don't see it. You just see what they show you and you think, oh, they're strong. But as a mom, I wasn't cooking. I wasn't cleaning. I was in the bed. I wasn't showering. And then finally I was like, I need help. And I called my mom. I was like, something is wrong. I don't know what it is, but I can't shake it this time. Call my dad. I can't shake it this time. Something is happening to me and I don't know what it is. But it was already 2 months before I made that phone call.
You said, Shakura, I'm sorry, Shaq, you said that your husband would tell you to call Chris. And the things that you were saying, like, I just don't, or you called your mom, I don't know, there's something wrong, I just don't know. And I pointed at Dawn because I literally have called her and been like, I don't know what's wrong. There's something wrong, and I can't put a finger on it. Like, I don't feel like doing this. So that's my point. And then she pointed at me, and then
I pointed at you because how y'all was identifying, like, when you was talking about, like, oh, what's the strong one? And, like, we know I have a lot of strong friends. So sometimes when they are going through certain things, they don't show it so strongly in the point. So. Or they'll brush it off, so I'm like, is there something wrong with you, or there's nothing wrong with you? So we'll just keep going. So I don't really feel that strongly to really check in because it always seems like they're okay until they're just not okay.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. It's just, like you say, you said something about some song talking about checking on your strong friends.
Yeah.
So it's, that's something you really have to consider and really mindfully think of because.
I know for
that strong
when
after
my
all.
friend Christina here was going through the things she was going through, I was like, girl, I'm going to cry with you. I don't want to cry in front of you. Because I know she's always putting on like, I'm strong. I can handle it. I got it. And I'm like, if it's that you are embarrassed, girl, don't be embarrassed because I'm going to cry with you. Girl, don't you want to have a drink? I'm going to have a drink with you.
And she would.
I'll do
Yes,
the drink.
I will.
I'll definitely drink.
As someone who is considered the strong friend, like that, and I've been like this since I was a little girl. I don't know why. It's not even an embarrassment to cry. Like for me, it's not an embarrassment. I'm not
We
embarrassed.
share that trait.
Yeah, I feel like, okay, I've said it like this before, and it's come to, I'm sure I feel like once I start and really let go, I won't stop. Like, I'll just fall apart. And like, again, going back to, if I fall apart,
The domino
Everything.
effect.
everything's gonna fall apart because so many people rely on the strength.
But
that
you
I
know
just
what the
have.
crazy thing is? It really don't fall apart. Like I wasn't getting out of bed for 2 months, but my house didn't fall apart. My kids, I don't even know if they really notice. I don't notice this. Like he always asks, "Mommy, what's wrong?" But yeah, the house didn't burn down, and my husband picked it up. And that was that time when I started doing my videos again, and you just popped up, and I was like, "Oh my God!" Like I needed that. That is exactly what I needed.
She knows how to show up when you need it. I'll tell you one thing about her. She knows how to show up when you need it. She'll call you out of the blue and be like, wait a minute. Why are you calling me? I was just thinking about you, Tommy.
Like yes, what's wrong? What's wrong? Christina, what's wrong? Nothing.
I do say what's wrong.
What's wrong? What happened?
And
Like
that's
my
trauma.
father. My father does that too. He called my father. He was like, hey, Dad's like, what's wrong? What happened? He don't say hello. What's wrong? I'm calling you looking something wrong.
Because whenever we get called, there's an issue. So that's why I see.
I'm like,
I wanted
wait
to-
a minute. This ain't hello.
And I also wanted to say, I don't think so. I don't. Score's right. I don't like crying in front of people. Not because I'm trying. I don't know if I would say because I'm embarrassed. I think because I equate tears with weakness.
Me too. I agree.
And I feel as if, similar to what Toffee said, that if I do start, it's going to take a lot for me to stop.
Yep.
So, and I don't want to be sitting there, you know, bawling and
Wasting
snot
time
coming
with
out and all
you.
that stuff. I just can't. I don't want to do that in front of people because then people will get very like, and then they really, you know, then I just,
They don't know what to do.
I don't know. And then they feel uncomfortable because they don't know what to say or do, and I'm feeling something
They
because
don't have
I
to
feel
say
like they,
anything.
I
Just
sit,
sit
you know,
there
I was like, let me just do this by myself.
That's why I said
because
call me because I don't get uncomfortable. I will sit there and I will cry with you. I will hold you.
and
I
if
will
she's
rock
crying
you.
as hard as me, then I'm just gonna start laughing. Because why are you crying as hard as I'm crying?
Listen,
My time.
people
You
here-
can't stealing my thunder with
No.
your extra strong cries.
These are my thoughts.
So I'm gonna try to compete with you with my tears. And I was sitting there like, okay, she's not gonna outcry me. You know, I'm like, nah. I'm competitive. I'm very competitive in all things.
Wait, I have a family member, and I won't name them, even though if they do hear this, they're probably who they are. Love them dearly. I mean, they're my birthday. But anyway, if there's anything wrong with me, and I go to this family member, you know, and I get where it comes from, you know, protect her, like. I'll just put it out there. She may not listen to this podcast. It's my mom. Like I'll go to her
definitely gonna listen
and I'll talk to her and I'll vent. And if there's something wrong with her kids, she's Mama Bear.
Oh yeah.
She ready to fight?
No, it's not either. It's like,
That's
but
me.
it's just extreme emotions
Yeah.
that then I have
You
to
feel
snap
really
out of my emotion to calm
stop.
her down. Because she'll be like, either she'll want to fight the person, or if I'm crying, oh, she's gonna cry too. And then I'm like, Mom, it's okay. But what is that? This hurt with me. I'm like,
This is my
what about
show.
my heroes? Like, what about me?
Yes.
This is
So-
my juke joint.
My juke joint. Like this, you know, I wanted time to cry. So yeah, like yeah.
Well, a therapist once told me that crying is like the radiator, the steam that comes out of the radiator. If you don't allow that steam to come out,
it's going to build up
it's
and
going to
explode.
blow up the house. And it's going to cause all the water to spill out over
good.
the house, and then you have to replace everything.
Yeah.
So it's better to let the
That's
steam
a
out.
great acknowledgement.
That's really good.
Really
That's
good.
good.
Let the
Like
steam
it.
out and allow yourself
Radiator
to.
fit.
At least you can regulate it. You can regulate how much you cry and when you cry, and you can come back to it. Because if you keep balling it up and balling it up, you're right. When you finally cry, the pipe will break.
Pipe broke.
And then you have to replace the clothes, you have to replace the floors, you have to replace everything. And it doesn't. I think you have to just choose. You have to have an inner circle that you could trust that side to. I think you just can't do that with anybody.
Yeah.
I think that you have to identify. It's one of the things one of my therapists told me once, and they said that you have to identify the people that you call when you're having a crisis, and you may not realize you're having a crisis. And so that could be for me. At one time, it was if I noticed that something isn't easy on me, I would take a bath. Or I would go for a walk. But if none of those things worked, then I knew that I had at least 3 people that I could pick up that phone and call. Just so, even if I didn't tell them what was going on, I just break up the monotony of the feeling.
Yeah.
And somewhere in the
That's
course of
good.
that, and I think that everybody should have a list where they have a list of who they can trust. And no matter what's going on that day, they know whenever that person calls, or whenever they call that person is that accountability person to them, or that emotional support person.
Yeah.
And actually, I want to. That actually was the next one I was going to talk about on the list. It says that you should also surround yourself with people who love and support you during these times, because that is very important. And knowing that there's other people there that actually do care about you, that actually do love you, that actually will,
drop everything for you.
Yeah. And despite the temptation, try to avoid canceling what you do for the holiday. And I know for me that I had to when it came to having to decorate stuff, I had to really had to push myself to get the stuff upstairs. And there used to be a time where I loved decorating, I loved putting stuff together and all that good stuff. That's I love that. But I had to actually force myself just bring the boxes up the stairs. So I'm doing a little bit one day, and I'll pick it up and do a little bit more another day, and blah blah blah. So and also, let's say every year you make an 8-course meal. Maybe you're not making an 8-course meal, but maybe you're making a 3-course meal. You're breaking it down.
You're just making something to bring.
Or you're just canceling your own situation and going somebody else's situation, which I think is awesome, because you don't got to do with clean up, prep, nothing.
Yep.
You make your one signature dish and keep moving.
Yes.
I know when we were doing holidays before, I was sitting there trying to make a turkey, a ham. I was making stuffing. I was making before toffee came, mac and cheese. I was making everything.
I feel like I was making something.
Everything. Dawn made cranberry sauce.
I feel like I was making.
Dawn made the canned cranberry sauce.
Before.
Katrina made the
I
cornbread.
did not make no cranberry sauce. I made sweet potatoes.
Dawn made the canned candied yams.
No.
The
I
canned
bought the
I'm not trying to throw anybody out on the street right now, y'all.
You just did.
But I agree. I think that
She's out the door already.
that's so funny. She's gonna come back in. No, but I think it's important and not canceling, but if you have to adjust, because don't cancel. Don't just sit. And I know, you have to fight the feeling, and it's a fight. And I never would have said in my 20s or even my early 30s that I would be fighting. I never I didn't think that I thought I was impenetrable when it came to emotion, right? Or not all emotion. Yes, I'm sensitive. I feel everything, but when I was able to just stuff it down and keep going, and even Dawn would tell you, it was just you never really. But now it's just different. It's like you said, it's that boiling over pot or radiator. So yeah, just being mindful of that. And when I mentioned this in one of the other episodes, the lady that I work with, she changed traditions. Changing traditions. Maybe this is the perfect time when you're grieving and you're dealing with something. Go to a movie. Make it a movie night. Go to someone else's party so that you don't have to come home and deal with cooking if you're grieving or whatever. Do something different. You don't have to cancel. Just get out the house. Yeah.
I was going to say some ways to identify if you're grieving is recognizing what has changed. Right. So it's in an extreme way. Not like, oh, I cooked breakfast every Wednesday and now I'm not cooking breakfast every Wednesday. Like, if you notice for weeks that, you ain't changing your panties, like, oh, hold up. And somebody noticed. This might be a thing. So identify for yourself, like, what is those extreme things that have changed? Maybe you are not getting out of bed. Maybe you're not leaving your house. Maybe you're avoiding phone calls, and you've noticed this has happened over a period of time. And then that list that Lena talked about is, who can I call to say, hey, I noticed that somehow I've been in this what is it called? Like a cycle. I've been in this cycle for 4 weeks. I've been in this cycle for 6 weeks, and I don't know what's wrong. I'm not identifying what's happening, but I know something is wrong.
And two, it's okay to call a counselor. I think there's something about the American culture that doesn't allow people to think that it's okay to call a professional or a third party. Maybe not even say professional, because a lot of people think your friends are professionals, but they're not. You need somebody who studied the field. You need somebody who is outside of your family, outside of your friendships. There's no attachment to you to help you hear what you're saying to yourself and retrain that self-talk.
Thank you for bringing that up, Lena, because we do have an episode coming up about how do you choose what person you need to talk to, because there's so many different professions of therapists and therapies who you talk to. So stay tuned for that episode.
Okay, so we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. And before we end, I just want to say one of the things that's also on this list is allow yourself to feel joy, sadness, anger, and allow yourself to actually grieve. Yes, you're celebrating the holiday. Yes, you're trying to not take everything off your plate. Yes, you're not canceling everything. You're making new traditions. But you still want to, allow yourself to grieve. And one sentence I'm going to read directly from here, which I thought was pretty interesting, is experiencing joy and laughter during a time of grief does not mean you have forgotten your loved ones. So just because you're grieving, just because you're sad, doesn't mean you can't have any joy. Doesn't mean you can't be happy. Doesn't mean you can't laugh. Doesn't mean you can't have a good time. You can still do that and grieve as well.
And that comes with what you were saying earlier, talking about the culture, how they like to push things to the side or make you feel bad because, oh, I'm enjoying spending time with my family, but I'm supposed to be grieving because I lost so-and-so or this thing is not working out. But you can have both. You can grieve and you can also have some joy.
Yeah. Last of the last. If you're feeling as if you need to talk to someone, but, maybe any hours of the day or night, this is 24 hours, you can call or text 988. It is a suicide and crisis lifeline. You can also go to the website 988lifeline.org if you want to get on a chat that way as well. And that's 24/7. And it is anonymous. So if you would like to do that, please feel free to reach out. Someone will always be on the other line.
And you'll be able to find that number on our Instagram page, our Facebook page, and on our YouTube page.
And you can also reach out to Jesus with prayer. Hello. For all my Christians out there listening.
Yes.
But yes, 988 24/7.
Because prayer does work. It may not change the situation right in that moment, but it does help to get you through.
Amen.